Hello again, everyone. Good morning. My name is Amit. So I'll be walking you through the Cisco SD-WAN. Thanks for joining. Welcome to Networkings. So I'll start sharing my screen. So before I start, a brief introduction about myself. So I have approximate 20 years of experience into networks, working on diverse technologies on Cisco, Juniper, Alcatel-Lucent, MPLS VPNs, voice, wireless, bit into security, and of course into SD-WAN. So I've been teaching and working on the SD-WAN for last more than 6 years, and I have deployed close to 50 projects, including small, medium, and large scale. So we will talk about a brief, right? The course content, duration, everything that you need to know. And if you have any question, feel free to post on chat, or if you want, you can uh, just raise out loud, right? If you have any question related to anything about SD-WAN, course content, duration, etc., right? So this course, Cisco SD-WAN, right, it takes around 40 to 50 hours, depending upon the pace, how it goes. And I'll share with you the notes, ebook, and then a lab guide. And there would be a lab login for each student. It would be an individual login, separate login for each student. So we'll be sharing with all of you the dedicated instance of the lab, and I'll show you during the course how to configure each and every component, each and every device from scratch. We will do it during this session, and then you would need to do it in your own lab instance at your convenience whenever you have time. So we'll share with you everything, the lab guide, how to do the steps. So you will have the recording session as well for the. So if you have already been associated with networking, so I think you would be aware about all these things, right? So you would get your own lab credentials once you have enrolled. Then this is the course that we will be covering on fundamentals, deployment, configuration, then policies, the iOS troubleshooting, right? And this is the certification that we will be covering. So you can go for this certification exam after this course. So these are the topics that we will be covering. SD-WAN architecture, controller deployment, edge router, policies, security, and then quality of service, multicasting, management, and operations. So we'll be covering from a theoretical perspective. Then we'll be covering from real life environment, how things are happening, how networks are being managed, how networks are being transformed from known SD-WAN network to SD-WAN network. Real-time network issues, solutions, recommendations, bugs being observed, right? So anything so far? Any question from anyone? Okay. So along with the theoretical explanation, so I'll be covering the real life environment.
मुझे एक क्वेश्चन है।
Yes.
जो इसका सर्टिफिकेशन है उसके लिए पहले एनकोर करना पड़ेगा ना, CCNA अगर है उसके बाद नहीं कर सकते डायरेक्ट?
I think you can.
CCNA के बाद कर सकते हैं?
Yes.
ठीक। Thank you.
Yeah, good. So just key point here. So for this course, Cisco SD-WAN, right? I just need that if you have basic networking skills, right? If you at least know what is BGP, what is OSPF, what is routing protocol, how we can ping, what is IP address. So just basic understanding is needed. Apart from this, I'll be covering everything from scratch. I'll explain, right? Wherever we need to touch, if we need to touch BGP in SD-WAN, I'll explain most of the things about BGP as well. As a refresher, right? As a finishing thing, right? So that we can just finish up whatever is from BGP perspective as well. So it's not only SD-WAN, it's about BGP as well. I explain ping, trace route things as well, right? So all prerequisites we cover. So I take around 4 or 5 classes as prerequisite for SD-WAN, like control plane. What is control plane? What is data plane? What is management plane? Difference between public and private network. What is MPLS? What is MPLS VPN? Right? RD, RT, VRFs. So virtualization. So we'll be touching up all these things, overlay and underlay, because until these things are clear, you won't be able to understand the SD-WAN. So it is important to understand these key prerequisites before starting working on SD-WAN. So there are various flavors of SD-WAN. The most important and major one, which can cater to large, complex networks, medium-sized network, small-sized network. So Cisco SD-WAN can cater to all these networks and is the only available SD-WAN flavor in the market who can support these size of networks. Then we have other vendors who are providing the SD-WAN, Meraki, Fortinet, Palo Alto, Versa, Silver Peak, Velo Cloud, Arista. So there are many other vendors in the market who are also serving SD-WAN, but none of them I feel is in comparison to what Cisco SD-WAN does. The concept behind SD-WAN is same for all the vendors. So the concept behind SD-WAN is same for all vendors. It's just that the way how they implement SD-WAN, that way is different. Like if you have worked on any other vendor than Cisco in regards to routing or let's say BGP, then you will see that on Cisco platform, we can configure BGP like using command router BGP. And on if you have worked on any other vendor, let's say Juniper, HP, Alcatel-Lucent, right? So there are different ways to do the BGP configuration, but ultimately they are running BGP. So we can have BGP session between Cisco and Juniper device. Both the concept is same. It's that their way of implementation of BGP is different. Right? Anything? Any query?
We'll be doing the labs as per enterprise topology.
Yes. So we'll be having one dual site in the lab where we'll be having primary, secondary box. We'll have VH, which is the Viptela hardware. I'll talk about these things shortly about the lab. And then we'll have Cisco routers and all these devices in lab environment we have virtualized. So there would be all virtualized devices. So the concept behind SD-WAN, SD-WAN is inherited from SDN, software defined networking. So all these vendors who are serving the SD-WAN, they are all complying to this concept of SDN, software defined networking. In layman language, we can say what SD-WAN is to utilize more of the software based approach to manage WAN network. So what I mean, in let's say in known SD-WAN environment, we have ISP. It can be public or private. If you are not sure, clear about difference between public and private, don't worry. I'll explain in detail later, right, in subsequent sessions. Now, it can be public or private, right? Then we have customer premises equipments. They are called as CPE or CE or a router. So these routers are usually connected via WAN links to ISP router. This may be somewhere in Delhi. Similarly, we can set up a router and subscribe by a WAN line from provider. It can be in Mumbai. Third one may be somewhere in UK and will have WAN link subscribed in UK, will connect to the provider router in UK itself. Then what's the purpose of going to ISP, right? The alternate medium of connectivity if we want to connect are different locations. Let's say we have this one in Delhi, Mumbai and UK. We can either we can either buy point-to-point links. Now, if we have 2-3 locations, it is fine to have point-to-point links. But as the number of sites increase, then it becomes difficult to manage full mesh connectivity or point-to-point links, right? Let's say, if I add new site in US. Now, to let this US site communicate to other 3 sites, either I need 3 links if I want to have direct connection to all the sites. Then the number of links that we need to manage, it increases, right? And the complexity as well. To overcome this thing, the ISP model came in, where ISPs, what they did, they set up their backbone, their routers in advance at different locations across the globe, so that whenever a client who wants network across Delhi, Mumbai, UK locations, they can simply buy one local link, they can set up a router, and their connectivity would be available. Now, let's say if I want to set up office in US, I'll set up a router, I'll subscribe, I'll borrow WAN link from provider, and my connectivity then would be through till all the locations. I don't need to set up, I don't need to manage the links towards other all sites. Here in this environment, I would need to run some sort of protocol. So that is overhead to manage the WAN side of the network. However, with ISP, we can simply subscribe to a new link at new location, and I would have the connectivity to other all offices. So number 1 network, let's say, it has some improvement over number 2 network, right? Then came SD-WAN, where we will place one centralized device. It is called as SD-WAN controller. It is a combination of minimum three components. Role of this SD-WAN controller is to manage, one of the role is to manage the configuration of these routers. From SD-WAN controller, we can perform configurations remotely. We need not worry about the configuration of each and every device. If I have these 4 routers across 2 different locations. If I want to add new configuration line on all 4 routers, sitting on controller, I can push configuration to all 4 devices. I need not log in separately to each and every device. This is the example of 4 routers. There may be 4,000 routers. Just think of the manual overhead that we need in case we need to add one common command, different lines of commands on 4,000 routers. Then in manual environment, in non-SD-WAN environment, we need separate login to each and every device to do the configuration. But with SD-WAN, it's seamless. Sitting on SD-WAN controller, we can simply push configuration to all 4,000 routers in one click. Anything so far?
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, so sir, this router is plug and play behavior, or what is this?
Both.
Okay,
We-
we just
Go on, please.
we just plug the router and we can configure the remotely from the SD-WAN controller.
Yes,
right?
correct. Yes. So
There is no need any basic configuration or any assigning
we have
IP.
both options,
Okay.
plug and play. And then another thing is called as manual onboarding, where we need console to the device and basic configuration, etc. And plug and play is also possible, but the only condition is plug and play is only for the hardware devices, not for the virtual one. So manual onboarding, it's possible for both hardware and software routers. Does that answers your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So plug and play is one of the key advantage of SD-WAN. It's called as PNP. In short, in Cisco SD-WAN, it is called as PNP, plug and play. Number 2, remote configurations. Number 3, security. Do we have security in non-SD-WAN environment? How we make our network secure? Any idea? Sorry?
By using
Firewall
secure tunnels
device.
and there are different method like ZTP and secure tunnel for communications between the devices.
Yes. So that is you're talking about SD-WAN, right?
Right.
So I'm saying what are the key things that we can do in non-SD-WAN environment for security?
We can use firewall devices or
Firewall.
ACL.
ACL. What else?
Tunnels, IPsec tunnels.
IPsec tunnel, yes.
Anything else?
ZVPF, zone-based firewall.
Zone-based firewall, correct. Okay. Now, firewall, though it has wider scope, it has cost implication as well. So if we have, let's say, 4,000 routers, you need 4,000 firewalls. That is huge cost, right? And even if we have money to buy the firewalls, manage, then we need people to manage those firewalls. OS upgrades, vulnerabilities, right? Then maintenance, RMAs, replacement, device getting faulty, device not responding, malfunction, right? Then IPsec tunnels, though we can configure IPsec tunnels in legacy environment, but these are difficult to manage. If we want, let's say, if we have network of 4,000 routers, it is very difficult to monitor, manage the number of, configure the number of IPsec tunnels, right? In Cisco SD-WAN, security is natively inbuilt. When I say natively inbuilt, all devices which are part of SD-WAN, they will form SD-WAN tunnels between them by default. We need not do anything about the IPsec configuration. As soon these devices, they have IP reachability between them, then these IPsec tunnels would be established by default. We need not do anything, and we cannot even disable this. So just think of the convenience, ease of life, that we don't need to do anything. The IPsec tunnels would be established by default. And until these IPsec tunnels are established, the host, printers, servers behind these routers, they won't be able to communicate to each other. So IPsec tunnel is key mandatory prerequisite, and it is there by default. Anything?
For security perspective, in SD-WAN only IPsec tunnel is there, right?
So we have IPsec tunnel plus SSL security, certificate-based security. Any idea why VIPs, right, president, prime ministers, they are given, let's say, multiple layers of security? Police, right, let's say CISF, let's say NSC commandos. Why it is so? Why not only police? Can someone tell me?
They have different policies, how to protect them and
Different
how to
rules, protocols, and
different
just in
rules.
case something is being missed by police,
Police,
it would
then
be,
CIS will be
it is high
captured.
probability that they would capture. Even if they both miss, then, right? This is same applicable with SD-WAN. First, we have SSL based security. Then on the top of it, we have IPsec. Then in addition to this, we need to whitelist the serial number of all the devices. If we manually, if we don't whitelist the serial number, then even these IPsec tunnels or SSL tunnels, they won't come up. Do you understand what do I mean by whitelist? So
Yes, bypassing the IPs or something like that.
So if we have routers in my network, let's say 2 routers, then their first point of contact is one of the component of SD-WAN controller for all the routers which I'm expecting to take part into the SD-WAN network. For them, there is one component which is first point of contact. Before establishing direct path or communication to rest of the network, all devices, if there are 5,000 devices, if there are 10,000 devices, they all need to connect to one component which is called as vBond. It is one of the 3 components of SD-WAN controller. Now, if this router has serial number 111, if this router has serial number 222, this vBond would first validate the serial number, that if I do have the serial number of this device present here or no. If let's say I only have serial number 111, then this vBond, it acts like watchman. It will check the serial number of the device. So it will say to device with serial number 222, I don't have your serial number present, so you are not allowed to connect to the network. This is another layer of security. And this connection to vBond, it is a SSL connection, certificate-based security. Another thing, one, serial number. Second is certificate. Even if let's say serial number matches, even if vBond has serial number 222, along with the serial number, vBond will also look for the certificate. So during this SSL connection establishment, every router would present its certificate. Certificate is nothing but it contains digital signature. In layman, in simple words, you can say it may be a random number 45674. this number must also be present on vBond. For 222, this number may be 4678758, and this number, and this is called as asymmetric authentication, that even if we are presenting different numbers, still vBond can match, can validate if this is the real number, if it is the good number or no. I have shown you only 5 digit. It is a hexadecimal encrypted code based on which these devices can calculate if their certificates are authenticated, valid or not. So serial number, it must be there. Certificate, it must be there. And then this SSL connection, it is set up on UDP port 12346. This UDP 12346 port must be open across this WAN interface of the router to this WAN interface of vBond. Their NTP clocking, their clock must be synchronized. Apart from this, we have 2 more parameters which must be same, only then device can join SD-WAN network. So when I say device can join SD-WAN network, meaning if we have core switches or PCs behind the routers, if we have a PC behind router number 111, if we have a server, let's say FTP server, if I need to upload a file, I need to run backup of my file from PC to server, right? Then this communication between PC to server would be direct between the routers. It will not go across the controller, because controller is just, as name indicates, it is part of mainly control plane. This is data plane where actual flow of packets will happen. Now, this communication between PC to server is only possible when all these routers, they are part of SD-WAN network. They have established secure SSL connections. Only when their serial numbers are validated, their certificates are validated, UDP port is open for all the devices. Only then this PC can communicate to server. There would be IPsec tunnel established between 111 and 222, and then packets will flow inside this IPsec tunnel. First, SSL connection is established, then IPsec tunnel is established. SSL connection is towards the controller, IPsec tunnel is between the routers. So you can say IPsec tunnel has dependency on SSL sessions. Only when SSL sessions would be established, then only IPsec tunnel would be initiated or established. So we have several layers of security. Anything?
Yep. We'll be creating any rules like to allow the traffic on IPsec, like kind of a firewall policy rules.
That is optional. By default, all traffic would be permitted. If you want to customize, if you want to define some conditions, that we can do per device or per network. If I want to define, let's say, that condition that you're talking about, if you want to define the traffic processing per, let's say, condition or rule per device, or rules per, or you can say for whole network. Because this rule, the advantage that we have, the flexibility with SD-WAN, this rule we can define per device on each device, or sitting on controller, I can define the rule here that would be pushed over to all the devices, be it 2, be it 2000, be it 10,000.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Hello.
Yes.
Could you please repeat the part IPsec tunnel as dependency on SSL session?
I couldn't get it.
So we have SD-WAN controller where we have at least 3 components. The first component, which is called as vBond, its role is to it acts as watchman. It verifies the identity of the devices. That is the only role of vBond. If I have 2 routers, 2 host machines, PC and server, why we need, just a basic question, why we need network? Why we need
Connectivity.
routers? Why we need link connectivity, right? The answer is connectivity. That if we are sitting in our office in, let's say, Delhi, and we want to communicate with somebody else who is sitting in Bangalore, Mumbai, etc., right? Then we need connectivity. So if I'm sitting in, let's say, in Delhi, somebody is sitting in Mumbai. This is Mumbai office, let's say, Delhi office. So I'll subscribe to the WAN link and at Mumbai office as well, and there would be somehow connectivity between them. Now, this PC would be connected behind Delhi office. This server is connected behind Mumbai office. In non-SD-WAN network side, what happens? As soon we have the IP reachability between the WAN interfaces, between PC and server, they can start communicating to each other, right? There is no security context of prerequisite. But SD-WAN network, if the IP reachability is there, it does not guarantee that your communication would be processing through. PC won't be able to communicate to server, even if you have IP reachability. That is not the only prerequisite. So these devices, these routers, they are expected to connect to vBond to authenticate themselves in terms of serial number, in terms of certificate. So SSL connection is mandatory to be established between all routers to controllers. If this connection, SSL connection between router to vBond is successful, then only router would be able to establish its another SSL session to another component of SD-WAN. These components, they have connectivity between them. We need to set up in advance. First SSL session between router to vBond. Second SSL session between router to this component is called as vSmart. It is control plane component. Now, only when this router or both routers are connected to vSmart, again via another SSL secured session, certificate secured session, we would configure, add the certificate on all the devices. Once this certificate between router to vSmart is set up, then their SSL session would be established. And what would happen as part of SSL session, their WAN IP addresses of these both routers. Let's say if I have IP address here 10.10.1/30. Here if I have IP address, let's say 20.22/30. Now, this is the basic functioning of SD-WAN, that as soon this session between router to vSmart is up, this WAN IP address would be advertised to vSmart. Similarly, for 20.20.20. Now, vSmart would know about 2 subnets. And vSmart, it acts as route reflector. The job of vSmart is to reflect whatever it learned over one tunnel to all sites, be it 1, be it 1000, be it 5000. If we have 5000 routers in network, what vSmart, it learned this IP address from Delhi router, it will advertise this WAN subnet to other or all 5000 routers in the network. Similarly, same process would repeat for this IP address. Now, my Delhi router knows about 20.20.20 and my Mumbai router knows about 10.10.10. Along with this, each router advertises the IPsec pre-shared key and parameters, encryption algorithms. This is done by default. We need not do anything. These parameters are advertised by default to vSmart, and vSmart would re-advertise to other sites. So now Delhi router would know about the IPsec parameters as well of Mumbai site. Now they would automatically initiate their IPsec tunnels. We don't have anything to do. We just need to configure the IP address. That's it. Everything else these devices would do by themselves. Even we won't notice that what is happening in the background. What we will see that the IPsec tunnel is set up between them. Now, as I said, the IPsec tunnel has dependency on SSL session. Only when the SSL sessions are established between router to vBond, vSmart, only then this IPsec tunnel would be established. So IPsec tunnel is now already secure. IPsec itself is secure and it is dependent upon the SSL. First, SSL session should be established. So the only point of security here is that all the devices, they should be the valid device. Only then the SSL connection would be established. Only then the IPsec tunnel would be established. And once this IPsec tunnel is established, only then this PC can communicate to the server on the right hand side and inside IPsec tunnel only. There won't be any packet going underlay path without IPsec tunnel. No, not possible. Are we good?
Yep. One question,
sir.
like
Mhm.
when we are creating an IPsec tunnel, you said the pre-shared key. Is it a manually that we have to give, or
No,
it will use a certificate?
auto-generated.
Okay.
This pre-shared key is auto-generated and it is refreshed. It is renewed every 8 hours by default, and it is proactive. There would not be any session would not go down. But pre-shared key would be refreshed and new session would be established, but we won't notice. Our traffic won't be impacted.
There should not be any, lifetime or on-demand tunnel, right? It will be always on tunnel.
It is always on tunnel, and we have the option of on-demand tunnel as well. Always on is the default behavior. On demand is the optional. Anything? Maybe it could be related to what we are talking about. It may be something different as well. If you have in mind, right? Because this session we have about general things. If you have question related to content, topics, duration, whatever in your mind.
Will be able to clear the certification after the training, right?
Yes, absolutely. Even
Hello,
if you, sorry, if you go on with what I'm sharing, if you do the labs, you would be able to do more than that. Even certification is not the goal here, right? It would be
Yes.
much more than that. Yes,
We need real-time experience.
absolutely. Yeah, this is what I expect, right? This is
Yes.
my deliverable would be that I'll be sharing with you how things work in the live environment as well.
hello, Amit.
Yes, go on, please. Sorry.
So if my company wants to upgrade to SD-WAN,
Okay.
so do they need to purchase the another separate equipment?
Okay. Yeah, good question. So if we have on the left hand side, if we have existing network, some ISP, some routers, and there would be WAN links. Right? Suppose this is the existing network or known SD-WAN network. If you want to transform to SD-WAN network, then the key prerequisite is to first set up controllers. This should be first step. vBond, vSmart, vManage. Kind of, if you are going to set up an office, right? Before you start asking your employees to join in the office, right, you need to first set up the infrastructure, like access card machines, security guards, electricity, right? So these things, these controllers, they act like all mandatory prerequisites. So we need to set up vBond, vSmart, and vManage, and the SSL sessions between them. That is the first prerequisite. There should be SSL sessions established between them, and vBond can be a physical component or virtual component. vSmart is always virtual. vManage is always virtual. When I say always virtual, meaning vSmart and vManage, they are not hardware in any form. We cannot go to Cisco or other any vendor and we say that I want to buy vSmart. Just like we go to vendors and we say we want to buy router. So vSmart and vManage, we cannot buy as hardware. These are the iOS version that we need to activate on virtual machines. We just need to spin up, we just need to configure a blank virtual machine. On the top of that virtual machine, we can add the iOS of vSmart and vManage. And for sure, there are some prerequisites in terms of storage, RAM, etc. that is needed for each component. Okay. Then these three components, when I say they are virtual, they can be hosted on Cisco Cloud, AWS, Azure, Microsoft, or on premises as well. Now, in terms of the routers that we need to run SD-WAN, these routers, usually they are called as XH. When I say XH, it may be a VH, which could be Viptela hardware or virtual machine. I'll explain in a while. Then it can be CH, which would be Cisco iOS XE based routers. Again, hardware or software. So when I say iOS XE based routers, there are certain routers like Cisco 800 routers. They are iOS based routers. We have Cisco ASR 1000, 4000, 1000, 8000. They are all iOS XE based routers. So
So what's the
iOS,
difference?
sorry.
What's the difference between VH and CH?
Yeah, I'm coming on VH as well. So
Okay.
are we clear about iOS and iOS XE?
Yes, sir.
So what is XC? XC means?
XE is another type of iOS for Cisco routers. So they are similar in nature, right? But if you really want to know the difference between iOS and XE, right? It could be like iOS is, let's say, Windows. iOS XE may be Linux. And there is another iOS XR, which you can relate to, let's say, Mac OS. Basically, different type of operating system. Now, Cisco 800 is the example of iOS. Cisco ASR 1000, ISR 4000, 8000, they are running iOS XE images. iOS XR, ASR 9000, CSR 1000. So these are the service provider level routers, CSRs. So they run on iOS XR. So there are different images, different type of operating system. But we have huge difference between Windows and Linux. It's not that much different in the Cisco environment. Almost the commands are same, but background infrastructure, background architecture is different. So then we can only use if we have existing routers of these type in client environment in organization, these routers can only be reused to run SD-WAN. If we have Cisco 800, it will not be of any use. It would be a waste. If we have these routers, they are waste. We cannot run SD-WAN on these routers. We can only run SD-WAN on iOS XE based these routers. Then V-edges. V-edge is the Viptela company router. Just like we have Cisco router, there is Viptela router as well. Just like we have Juniper routers, Alcatel routers, Huawei routers, Nokia, Ericsson, right? So Viptela is another company who provides the routers, right? And Viptela was the company who invented SD-WAN, what Cisco SD-WAN is. Cisco never invented, they never developed Viptela
सारी
SD-WAN.
बातें ये है वो हमें सब पता है क्योंकि हमें क्या है ये भी पता है कि हमारे डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर हमारे सपोर्ट में है.
Yeah, sorry. So Viptela was the company who invented what the technology today is known as Cisco SD-WAN. Earlier, around 2012, 2013, this thing was what Cisco SD-WAN today is. It was known as Viptela SD-WAN. And Cisco had no role on Viptela SD-WAN. So Viptela had their own set of routers which only support SD-WAN. So Viptela was the company who developed SD-WAN and they only supported SD-WAN at that point of time. At that point of time, Cisco routers, they did not support SD-WAN at all. They were running plain routing. Then Cisco overtook this company, Viptela, and then they rebranded their SD-WAN offering to the name Cisco SD-WAN. So that is why Cisco SD-WAN, its name is sometimes Cisco Viptela SD-WAN or Viptela SD-WAN. So at the time, around in 2014-15, when Cisco overtook Viptela company, at that point of time, no Cisco router supported SD-WAN. It was only Viptela hardware which supported SD-WAN. Just like we have Cisco 800, Cisco 4000 routers, Viptela, their devices are known as VH 100 model, VH 100B, VH 1000, VH 5000, VH 2000. So these are their models based on their capabilities. Okay. Anything?
So now the SD-WAN is known as Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN, right? CCSD-WAN.
Yes, correct.
And controller still is using the Viptela, means it's vManage, vBond, or
Yes, correct.
vZone.
Correct.
One question, if the company is migrating from on-premises to SD-WAN, what are the advantages and how it is effective, cost-wise, how it is, what are the advantages we'll get for the companies?
So it would be cost saving, right? And if the company already has these devices, Cisco iOS XE based devices, right? Then it's huge cost saving for a company because they can reuse their hardware And in terms of operations, we will have secure network. We don't need much resources to manage the network. And I'll explain in the upcoming sessions how we can transform and what are the usual steps.
Okay.
Sir, can we use other vendor SD-WAN edge routers or devices?
No. So we
To
can only use
complete?
Cisco hardware or
Mhm.
virtual machines with Cisco iOS.
Okay. So suppose we have three sites and two are in SD-WAN of Cisco SD-WAN and one is for another vendor like Fortinet or any Prisma
No,
Access.
not possible.
It's not
It should
possible.
all be uniform Cisco environment.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, every time whenever the traffic goes from the local network to another remote site, it will go to the weak central.
Sorry, one more time.
We man, if I want to send a traffic from one network to another remote site network of my other organization, so the traffic every time goes through vManage.
No. So the vBond, vSmart, and vManage, they never come as part of the actual traffic processing. The traffic would always be between the routers. So controller is just like supervisor. Okay. Yeah. We'll explain in more details.
Sir, one more question. Can we use legacy network as well with SD-WAN network? Like if I have one site with a legacy network, legacy router around that, can we communicate with this and discuss like how we have A, B, and C sites? C is for legacy and A, B is on SD-WAN. So can we communicate with each other or there is some limitations for there?
We can communicate, but we won't have the advantages of SD-WAN.
Right,
Those
right.
advantages would be for communication between site A to B. For C,
We
the
can communicate.
SD-WAN will not be there, yes, but we can communicate, yes.
Okay, okay.
Hello, sir. If I want to take up the edge device backup, how do I take?
So
Where
the
it will store?
configuration is already backed up by default onto vManage, which is the management plane.
So daily it is scheduled to
As
take
soon
the back.
as soon there is any change in the configuration, new configuration would be backed up onto the vManage by default.
Okay.
Also, we recover our old configuration like
Yes,
I make some changes.
absolutely. Yes.
Sir, other vendors will also have the same concept like vBond, Smart, Manage.
The concept would be same, but names are not same. The name would be different for their controllers, but concept is same. Okay, so I'm done for today, right? So let me see. Okay, I think Gaurav already left the session. So I'm done for today, right? You can communicate, you can contact the networking's admin team for your further queries related to enrollment and the for further queries. If you have anything related to the content or technical queries, you can tell me.
Sir,
So
at
Currently,
what
our
level
daily,
we will? Yeah, go
okay,
ahead,
fine.
please.
So daily session will be 9:30, right? Indian time?
So
Hello.
yes, I think so. But you can check with the admin team about the session time.
This will be 2 hours, right? Weekend
We
batch?
can mutually agree. It's not hard and fast. It
Okay.
depends upon topic. If you feel that we are overloaded with the current topic, so we can wrap up in 1 hour as well. So it's very much flexible.
So total, how many hours it will be?
40 to 50 hours.
Okay.
So, sir, it is
sir,
a
approximate.
weekend weather, right?
So that is why I'm saying we have, I think the option for both weekdays and weekend batch. So you can contact the admin team. So they
Okay.
will guide you further on this.
Okay. Okay. And
Sir, at
approximate.
what level? Yeah, yeah. At what level we will cover SD-WAN? Like there's some levels, certain levels for that, I think.
So what I would say, beginner level to intermediate to expert. It depends upon you how you
Okay.
practice, because I can share with you the topic, right? In theory, in practical, you need to practice at your side, right? If you will practice what I'm sharing, then I can assure you that you would be there at the expert level.
Okay, so what about lab? So like if we are doing lab, then we also find documents for that, or it's
Yes,
only for
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Documents and videos both.
Okay.
Sir, I have knowledge of only CCNA level. I've
Yeah,
joined
don't
the
worry.
course CCNA year
Don't
also.
worry. Just just you remember this line, and just when we will conclude this course, then you will tell me at what level you are now, right? So don't worry. I'll explain everything in very basic, in very much details.
Sure, thank you.
So, sir, tomorrow there will be class or not?
Again, it's dependent, right? I think you can contact the admin team. They will confirm you about
Okay,
the next planning, right?
okay. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
If you learn this Cisco course, the SD-WAN, so can we manage other vendors also?
absolutely. Yes, because for other vendors, it's what I would say. If you know Cisco SD-WAN, then it is very easy to learn other SD-WAN flavors, because in Cisco SD-WAN, we have most of the things in details, right? In other all vendors, these are very much straightforward. Like anybody who is, let's say, who does not even have, let's say, CCNA level or basic understanding, right? Their things are very much fixed. You cannot really customize there. And those are for the straightforward networks, not for the complex networks. If you know Cisco, then I think you can easily understand other all SD-WAN flavors.
Okay, sir.
Yes, you mentioned in the previous what are the areas we have to brush up this BGP, OSPF, and IPsec, right? If it's before the
If you
class.
do that, it would be better. If you don't worry. I'm here,
Okay, fine.
right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll explain. Yeah. So that was just example, right? Basic knowledge of networking, like what is IP address, what is BGP, why we need IP address, why we need BGP, just this level of understanding.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks. Good to know.
Thank you.
Sir, how to access the individual router?
So we will share with you, right? Once you have enrolled, then you will get your credentials to log in into the lab. And then once you have lab login, I'll show you, right, during the session, how to access the lab using your username and password, and how to access all the devices, username, password, and everything I'll explain.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome. Anything
Sir.
else? Anybody? Yes?
Hello, sir. So nowadays,
Yes?
I think we hear the word Cloudflare. What is that, sir, actually?
Flare is the company, right? It's not a technology, it's the name of the company.
It is also
Cyber,
providing
just like
SD-WAN?
Cloudflare, they may be providing SD-WAN, but they like this Nokia SD-WAN, Cisco SD-WAN, these technologies are from their respective vendors, right? The names which I explained, these are well-known SD-WAN providers, but there may be others as well, right? Because now, let's say if you go to market to buy a router, can you tell me what all vendors have you seen so far who are selling routers?
Cisco, FortiGate, HP.
Right? All these well-known names, but there are many other small vendors who are also manufacturing the routers, who are also like Zyxel, ZYXEL. This is a Chinese company who are also selling the who are also selling the routers. So just like these are all well-known SD-WAN providers, so we have, let's say Cloudflare may also have their own flavor of SD-WAN. So it's just what I would say, you just need people who know software, people who know hardware, you can yourself build your own SD-WAN flavor, right? So it's kind of open standard, open source. Anybody can build up their SD-WAN, just like router, right? You can also, if you have, let's say, resources in terms of software, in terms of hardware, then you can also build up your own router, your own brand router, I would say. Good.
Yes.
Okay. If nothing else, let's conclude for today. And you can contact the admin team, right? I hope you have their contacts, email, phone numbers.
Yes, sir. We.
Okay, then. Thanks for your time, everyone. I'm
Thank
open
you.
for any comment, feedback.
Okay, thank you, Amit. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Sir.
you.
Thank you. That's all from my side.
It was nice having session with you. Thank you all.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes,
Hello.
please. Yes, Ramesh.
Do you cover any automation part of SD-WAN here?
Not
Like
exactly. There won't be any topic as such automation, but yes, I will touch up wherever needed. I'll share with you how we can utilize automation with respect to SD-WAN to manage the network. Yes, there are few things like API, Python, how we can use, I'll share.
Okay, sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Have a
welcome.
day.
Good, good. Thank you. See you soon. Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.